So if I have to tell you about the show, it's called Women at Work. And it was just inspired by the fact that because I have worked in sports for the longest time, and I've done engineering, and before that I was in marine engineering, where we were 3 girls in like 365 boys. So the idea of, was my behavior right? Should I have said that? Oh my God, are they judging me? A lot of these thoughts really clouded me all the time because I was only surrounded by men. And when they would speak about another woman in front of me thinking I'm a bro, it would make me feel like, oh my God, are they talking about me like that? So I thought that as I grew up, and during the pandemic, I spent a lot of time with my brother. And I realized that girls who are like, 6-7 years younger to me have no, for the lack of a better word, wants to give. They don't care. And that inspired me a lot. And I'm like, things that I am worrying about is something that they don't even care about.
That they don't even think about.
Yeah. And then I have just gotten up looking at your TED Talk, which was on hope. And I realized that there have been women like you who've gone out there and broken these shackles a long time ago.
Yeah. True.
So
it's been an interesting life, to say the least. Yes.
And you're one of them.
Thank you.
So this is actually like a self-explanatory journey, and I'm sure there are a lot of women who would like to hear this because they are worrying in their homes that yaar maine ye sahi kiya, kya kiya, dying in shame for a lot of things. So I think this would really work out as a good manual for them to understand that everything is fine. That's the idea.
Okay.
So you're an engineer, you were a performer, and you're
I'm an electronics engineer. Yes, and I've forgotten everything about my engineering, that too.
But you have to tell us the story of your very first acting audition, because that story is beautiful.
Yeah, it was, people ask me whether it was all planned, etc. And it definitely wasn't. My life has just been a journey, as and when things happen. So I was modeling when I was 17 in Bombay, and I only done amateur theatre. When I was about 10 years old and 12 years old, I'd done 2 musicals in Bombay, but never trained as an actor. After engineering and after modeling, etc., I married my ex-husband, my first marriage, and I was only about 20, and I moved to the UK. That's where he lived. When I was there, I didn't want to work as an engineer. I was the last person to kind of say, chalo, study 2 more years and work as an engineer. So I started working in a restaurant, which was a restaurant where all these famous people used to come, pop stars and Hollywood stars, and it was a humbling experience for me, and it was an eye-opener, at that age, 2021. So alongside that, I was with a session singing company, which is what got me, to sing on albums like Cooler Shakers, Govinda, the track Govinda. Then I was with a modeling agency there who put me in music videos like Bali Sagu's, Dilchi's, Apache Indian Arranged Marriage, a few others, Basha, lot of others. The same people were approached by Jennifer Jaffrey, who was the late Saeed Jaffrey's wife, who was a casting director at the time. And she asked them, she said, we're looking to cast a French film which is about India. It's about the dowry system in India. And we're looking for a girl to play the lead. Do you have any Indian actresses? And they said, we don't know about actresses. We've got one Indian girl on our books, and she does a bit of modeling for us. They didn't know that I really loved acting, but I'd never done it before. So she said, send her across. Now, I used to wear a sari at the Bombay Brasserie, this restaurant where I work. And they called me up there and they said, this is happening. Do you want to go? And I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. I'm like 22 years old. Of course, let's go. I go there, and this is, of course, to play the lead. And it was about the dowry system and stuff like that. It was a serious film, right? Anyway, I go there and I sit and I see a whole bunch of girls, and all of them, when I chatted to a few of them, all studying at RADA, SHADA, all of these, schools, etc. And there's me, brand new. Just sitting there, and she gave us 2 scenes to do. So we had 2 scenes, the papers or whatever, for the reading. The girl in front of me went inside, and I overheard her telling Jennifer, we didn't get too much time to get into the skin of the character, Jennifer. Yeah, that's not an Indian accent anyway. So nevertheless, that girl did her reading and she left. It was my turn. I went in there. Jennifer looked at me, she said, "Oh, where have you come from? This, that, and all." I told her and she said, "How long have you been acting?" And I said, "This is my first audition, ma'am." So there were a bit of raised eyebrows or whatever. And she said, "Okay, please sit down and let's do this." And I said, "No, ma'am, I'd like to act out the scenes for you." So she said, "Oh, okay, fine. Use the space. You can use the papers." I said, "No, I don't need the papers. I've memorized the scenes."
Right.
So she was like, "Really?" So I said, "Yeah." She said, "Okay, I'll play the other part." I said, "If I make
Everybody should know this is a very
engineering, rattofying, in college." So I said, "Okay, if I forget something, I'll make it up along the way. You just, play the other part." She said, "Okay." I did the scenes. Now, both the scenes were very intense scenes. One is when I'm like lying burnt, half burnt in the hospital, and one is when I'm begging and pleading this French actress, the lead actress, to help me get out of my situation or whatever. And it required the character to cry and break down. And by the end of that second scene, Ridhima, I was howling my guts out. I was at her feet and I was begging, like as the scene demanded.
Yeah.
And that is why I always say I'll never forget that moment, because she was just, she was like this. That was her expression, and she just got me, and I was still in it. That's one thing with me. Sometimes I don't switch off straight away. So I was still in it and I was crying away. I was still crying. And she picked me up and she put me on the sofa next to her. And she said, "Tell me the truth, Suchitra, how many years have you been acting?" And I said, "Ma'am, this is my first audition." And she said, "Wow, you do realize this is what you need to be doing." And that changed my life. I was shortlisted with another girl. The following week, the director came from France.
Right.
The following week, 2 weeks later, I was in Sri Lanka, living in a 5-star hotel, shooting for 6 weeks as the lead of a French movie. So that's how it all started.
When you were narrating this story on that TED Talk, I saw you tear up, and I was like, if I was you, I would do the same, because just the reminiscence of that moment is never ever going to leave you, because that was the moment where you sort of, were born again.
It's like it's one of those what they call life-changing moments, right? When you suddenly realize, man, this is something I've never done before. It's something, looks like I'm made to do it, and you're getting an opportunity as well. So everything's kind of aligning and falling into place, and that's what makes it beautiful. And when you think back, that's why when I think back about it, it makes me emotional, because thanks to Jennifer Jaffrey, and I'm still in touch with her today. And I keep telling her. And then I was lucky, because after that movie I came back and she decided to start an agency for actors, and she said, "You're going to be my first client."
Oh, lovely.
So Saeed played my father in that film, so he must have sent back some reports saying, take her on or whatever. But so that's how it all started, and then it was a wonderful journey. But it is experiences like this that kind of change the course of your life, as per se.
So let me ask you this question, because I'm also this person who sort of took that risk, and I had a job as an engineer. And there was this moment where Star Sports gave me an audition. So that was a life-changing moment for me. But whether you're a man or a woman, for that matter, but especially for women, when you're at work, how important is it get in a time like this, where the world is still sort of being okay with this surge of women coming out and saying, "I want my right"? Because
correct.
This is the time that we're living in, and you did that.
Yes.
At that time where a lot of women were not taking risks. How important is it for women to break that, to define your life, and have a moment like this that you just spoke about? How does it you as a woman anyway?
I think it's very important. I think it is up to us to kind of just go out there and get what we want. And there are so many opportunities now, Ridhima, for, in whatever career you choose. For me, it's always been go out there and get it. I still, at 52 and 30 years in the industry, I'm still doing that. It is in my industry, I can talk from my point of view. There shouldn't be ego. It's very easy in showbiz to get this ego thing and make that the be all and end all, which is completely the wrong way to go. But actually going out there and doing what you want to do, I think everybody should do it. I think you can't sit, what they say, haath pe haath dare, doing nothing. It doesn't work that way. Even today, when I don't have work, pretty much the truth, it's the God's truth. I mean, I finish a project, and if there's nothing else happening, I have a whole bunch of casting directors, a list, and I will call each and every one of them saying, I'm not working right now. What's there? Is there something else that I can, that I'm suitable for? So I think it's important. I think it's very important for us to know what we want and go out there and get it.
Absolutely. And this is what I like. I remember you told me this in that car drive that we took, and it was very recently, Neena Gupta did it when she made that tweet, and that became like a viral sensation, and then her life took another course altogether. Yeah. But, these are moments, and, getting this piece of information sort of has so much value when you're a professional yourself. So given the fact that the world has changed so much, especially for women as well, and that, being the woman that you are, that, you would anyway go and follow your heart, how many trajectories did your career take with the evolving time?
Lots. Because I'm one of those who has a finger in many pies. So if you're talking about, see, for me, I was very young when this all started. I was 22. When I came back so I'll tell you what all I was doing. When I was there, when I started off in England, I worked with, because just to fill in my time, I worked with a perfume company. I realized they were making fake perfumes only much later. It was a marketing company. It's one of these ads you find in the paper. I said, I've got to do something, and I joined that in London. Then I found out that they were making fake Calvin Klein and this and that. So I left that. Then I tried to work with an investment company. Then no way, I don't know anything of this. So I left that. It was just one thing after another. But when the acting started, I was told by Jennifer, she said, you've got to build up your body of work. It's very important that you do that. And for that, you have to do children's theatre, you have to do theatre, when you're taken seriously. So saying which, that's one path I took. It's not, I can't say it was not tough, but taking the set, going to a school, putting up the set, doing the play, taking down the set, going to another school, I was doing all of that, with a few other actors, a couple of other actors. I never trained as an actor, but, doing little things like going for a summer drama class, where they teach you movement and they teach you like to be like animals, this, that, things like that, I did bits and pieces like that. I was always trying to see what else is there to do. So, either I would do a music video or I would do an ad, or just to be, it's important for us in our business to be seen, to be around, for people to know that you're there. But to build my craft, I said, if plays are not happening and if more films are not happening, I'll turn to theatre. What is the other way of doing theatre? There is radio drama, which is huge in the UK. So I started doing that. I did a lot of radio plays in the UK. One mega one was the Ramayan, which was a 14-part series. Shashi Kapoor was alive at the time and he was the narrator. They flew him from here, and Nitish Bharadwaj was Ram and I was Sita, and it was the most amazing experience to have like 16 actors in a studio, and pretending to be all of these Ram and Sita characters and all of this, wearing jewelry and walking around, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, but wearing jewelry and walking around a studio so that they can hear, it was incredible. So these are all learning experiences, which I was like, seriously, this also happens where people are not seeing anything and they're only hearing, which again has stood me in good stead now, so many years later, because I'm doing a lot of work for Audible, audiobooks. I've done about 4 or 5 books, and that makes me remember that time where you tell a story through sound, so everything connects somehow or the other, Ridhima, so when you least expect it. I didn't think I would be thinking about standing in a BBC radio studio, so many years later. And the other day when I'm recording in a studio over here, I was just like, oh wow, yeah, I remember this was very similar to a scene we did then. It's really nice. It's wonderful to have these parts of the journey, which so you can match the dots per se. So my trajectory it's been, as I said, a non-planned one, but one that I wouldn't give up for the world, babe, because it's something that's got me here today, and with with many fingers and many pies, with the result in an insecure business like mine. I know there's always something else to fall back on. If there's no film, I'm doing something on OTT. If there's no OTT, I'll get a TV serial and I'll do that. If there's no that, I've got my theatre. If there's not that, I'm doing my dubbing. If there's not that, I'm doing a thing as a VJ. I swear I'm doing all of these things right now. All of these things. So it is about that. It's about making your own trajectory. If you asked, what are the various, it is about making, because there is only one life. You need to kind of figure that out for yourself, and you need to fill it in with as much as you can, because God-given opportunities are only few and far between. You and I know that, and if we don't, I mean, you're touchwood. I've been watching you actually recently, and you're bloody brilliant, man, at what you do, this sports thing is just, you're really, really bloody good. And I was just like, see, even if you choose one thing or you choose 20 things to do, to make that the best, to be the best at what you do is what should be your goal. It's what you should aim to be. So a lot of people ask me throughout my life, why so many things? Yeah, why not one? And there's my sing, and there's, I just do so many things. And I say, why not so many things? Yeah, if you can give it 100%, then why not? That's always been my logic. So so I've created my own trajectories, and it's been one journey after another. And then after that, coming back after getting divorced, coming to India, at 27, creating another place for myself over here. That was another journey altogether.
Having said that, now that you touched upon it, I completely get you. Is because I started as an RJ, I dubbed, I came to Bombay and I started dubbing. Then I did theatre. Then I fell back on sports. So I completely get what you're saying, and I totally relate to that. Is because that sort of leaves you with very little insecurity.
Yes.
Having said that, this brain is a very funny thing. And and somehow, na chahte hue bhi, and as strong as you are, and as a go-getter you are, and you also know that my brain is playing tricks, but I will overcome it. Have there been, stresses? Anyway, this is an insecure business, but have you ever been insecure about, your personal life, the problems happening in personal life seeping into your career, probably aging, because, you're a glamorous woman, and then age catching up? Will I get a certain role that I was used to and not getting that? Was there anything?
Yeah. Of course, many stresses also because of, me being a Virgo. I'm a control freak and I'm a perfectionist. It has to be done and it has to be done by me. So, so that has caused, unnecessary stress also for me, frankly speaking. But I think in any woman's life, there are these moments in your life, or there are these stages in your life where you keep adding stresses, but you can't help it. It is what it is. And like, say, okay, getting married, then you have a kid. You just about started your career, and a kid comes in. So you've got to balance that too, because you wanted that also, but you really want this, and you're worried about, oh my God, will people forget about me if I don't work, So with the result, I got pregnant, like, say, that taking this scenario, I got pregnant while I was actually shooting a movie. It was during that time, and Dula Mil Gaya was the film. So if you'll see me dancing in a bikini and all with slight paunch, I was 3 months pregnant.
I'm going to go watch it.
And, but never say die. I worked till I was 8 months, even doing that movie, then shot everything behind tables, for me, everything. I was like under dining table and this and that. And, you fit in whatever it is that's happening, you kind of make it work. Right. Okay. So after that, having the baby and saying, oh my God, now I'll have to take some time off. Then I said, no, I won't take time off. I was working for a South African company, a TV channel at that time. When my baby was 1.5 months, I was flown to Maldives to go and shoot Mauritius to shoot something over there, So there's me breast pumping, every the half an hour, running to the room, breast pumping and coming back onto the set and shooting something and going back. It was like that, So there are those kind of stresses which you take on, knowing that this is what the life you have chosen. So you bloody well do what it takes, So there are things like that. There have been scenarios in my personal life where money has not been great. I've been the breadwinner of the family. There's been that scenario which people have, raised eyebrows about. Oh my God, only she's working this, that, and the other. But when you have a balance between you and your partner, and because without him, I would not be where I am today. I maintain that all the time. The way he took care of my child when I had to fly off to California to shoot a movie, which The Valley, this Hollywood film that I did, which won me the best actor in competitions.
That
we'll talk about that later. But situations like that are stressful. Obviously, he had stitches on his Achilles. He was on a board thing. My baby was 7, not even 7. She was about 8 years old. Yeah, less than 6 years old, and I had to run and go to for 3 weeks to shoot this movie, leaving them over here. So there's that stress, and for us as women, there's guilt. no matter what, there's guilt.
Yeah.
I'm not at home. I'm not spending enough time at home. I'm not
How do
spending
you
enough
deal?
time with
How do you
family.
deal
I'm
with
not.
that? What do you say to
Yeah.
yourself to deal with that?
More than me, I say to my kid, more than me saying to myself, I say to them, and I say, that's why she's grown up, touch wood, to be a really strong child at 15, because she's seen, her mother having to work, etc. And she's a toughie, so she's seen that it's not because I want to stay away from the family. She said she's seen how much I love what I do. I've used to take her to the set and as to make them a part of it.
Right.
To make them a part of it, not keep it separate. Your career and your personal life, not keep it separate. People say, oh, I wouldn't take my child to the set and all. I said, no, she will see everything. She will see me doing action shots. She will see me doing a death scene, to know that it's not real when she sees it on screen sitting at home. So the first time she came to a TV show and she saw me dying, she was sitting in the monitor and I said, no, you will sit there. And I said, Mama's going to die here, but Mama's going to walk back and come, like that. So, teaching her things like that, making them part of it. I think that's very, very essential. Don't keep it fully separate. I always say, don't keep it fully separate. The emotion, yes, you should. If you're having a bad time at home, do not take that to work. Unless you're doing a really angry scene, then yes, it works. But,
Yeah.
but otherwise, don't take it to work. So that way, emotion-wise, keep it. But physically-wise, sometimes it's nice for them to be part of it, so that your conversations at home make sense. When you're talking to them about something that happened at work, they know what's happening there. So I think that's important. So stresses, as far as that is concerned, right now at my age, I've got my zen comes from my meditation and my yoga. I'm into pranic healing and I'm into yoga, which I've become very regular with, and it's that's my solace. Yeah.
This that you just told me, bring up your child, is very special to me. And I'll just tell you is that when you sort of evolve as a woman yourself, and over the years, you also tend to sometimes probably understand why your mother probably said something to you when you were a child, and then probably forgive her and understand that probably this is something that I would not do with your daughter.
Yes.
Or
yes.
Tweak it.
Or yes. Or emulate more of that. Frankly, I keep saying that I'm becoming my mother, because she was she was a woman who, until we were in the 7th, 8th standard, until I was in the 7th, 8th standard, she was just completely, homebody. After that, she did her B.Ed. She studied again. She became a teacher. After that, she was my English professor. She ended up being my English professor in junior college. She was teaching English for over 30 years. After that, she studied again. This is when we're talking, she's way into her 60s. She studied some more again. And then she studied mass communication and taught in 3 colleges, mass communication, until she had a stroke. She had a stroke, and then she stopped working after that. But this was a live wire of a woman, and there are some things about that which I emulate, and I do that myself. I can see it myself doing these 100 things. She would wake up in the morning, go to the temple, go to the bank, go to the market, come back home, quickly run, change, have bath, this, that, run and go and teach in 3 colleges, one after the other. After that, come back home or go and pick us up. This was her day. I saw it day in and day out, despite my father working and everything like that. This is what she wanted to do, but she did it at the right time, when after both of us were kind of sorted out and, independent enough. That I have imbibed from her, and I'm very happy that I have. But this other thing of taking on everything on myself and not delegating, that I wish I hadn't imbibed from her, because hoping that only I can do it and nobody else can do it, that really, because that causes a lot of stress on me.
Unnecessary stress.
I think that really does. It's a stressful thing to do, and that can be avoided. So those are little points, say, from what I've taken from my mother, and what I hope I wish I didn't take, because sometimes she turns around and says, you better be careful, because when I'm sometimes very stressed or whatever, she says, you better be careful, you're living a life just like mine, and you saw what happened to me. I'm like, Arey, don't say that. So it's reality checks sometimes for me, to kind of just take a chill pill sometimes, just say, okay, everything will happen even if I don't do it. Come on, breathe, it's okay, it will happen. Somebody else will, or delegate, do something, delegate. That I think is a key.
I have a question, all right? while as women, I have seen over generations, and including myself, we're always a little fearful to what we have. Will it go? Fearful, will I be able to manage it? I think there's an element of fear, which is probably a part of the way we are brought up, that is instilled into us.
Yes.
What is that one thing that you need to tell a woman to be growing as an absolute fearless woman, or not tell her anything?
Yes, I mean, it's a good question. Fear basically there is in everything and everything that we do. Everything we grow up, as you said, we grow up with. There's a definition of fear which I love. It is false evidence appearing real. So that's what I feel fear stands for. And if you kind of get around to that and remembering that is what it is, it kind of gives you another perspective, because you're straight away telling yourself it is false evidence appearing real, which is making you act the way you're acting. It is a part and parcel of life. Fear always is, but I always try to use it as a stepping stone. You have to use it as a stepping stone to say, yeah, supposing I just take that risk, just take that risk. What's on the other side of that? And we need to, sometimes we have to push ourselves. We really need to. I have to admit, there are moments in my life where I haven't, in my career, let me tell you. I was seen for the movie Kama Sutra by Meera Nair 30 years ago when I was in England. She sat with me for 1.5 hours and we, trying to convince me to play Indira Varma's role or whatever. And it was in London, and there was her and the casting director and me. And at that time I was newly married and there was a lot of nudity, etc. So there was that fear. Yeah. My God, I can't do it. Okay. Come back to India. I've started acting, this, that, and the other. There's a film called Karkash where there is a love scene with me and Anup Soni, which people talk about. They say it was a beautifully shot scene, etc. With no nudity, but a full-on love scene. No nudity. And you see that scene and it's beautiful. I let go of fear. So it's life, it's life. Your own maturity and how you're dealing with things, etc. And how at that point in time, and I was just like, and Anup was worried about that scene. Yeah. And I said, Are chalna, just finish it off and go. It was one of those things. Yeah. So in various junctures like that, it will hit you in the face, yes, but then it is up to you to kind of just stand up there tall and just say, no, it's come to me and it's hitting me in the face because I was chosen for it to hit me in the face, right? And it's another opportunity in another way, because if I get rid of this fear, imagine how much success I could have. And that's, keeping that in mind, I think that's the key, to know what else you might be able to achieve if you get rid of the fear. But it's always going to be there, and it's a good thing when I go onto stage as an actor, theatre, that fear is still there, what they call the butterflies in the stomach. Yeah. I remember all of my lines. There's a play I'm doing for the last 26 years. Still I get butterflies in my stomach. I've done 660 shows of that play, but still when you first walk onto stage, it's that, and it's essential. So there are times where fear is essential. There are times when fear is unnecessary. You need to know the difference between that. Right. Yeah. So to keep the energy going in what you're doing, have that fear. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job if I don't do what is expected of me. That makes you work harder. Okay. But the fear of, I don't know whether I can do it. That's not a good fear. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's how you, remember that false evidence appearing real.
False evidence appearing real. I have learned a little something today. I'm not going to take too much of your time. So this is my next segment that I'm moving on to, where in a time where, a lot of people have very weird notions about feminism, I honestly have met very supportive men also. And then there have been men been very insensitive. But having said that, for a time like this, it required a lot of supportive men to push you to go ahead and achieve what you wanted to, apart from your natural instinct, for sure. Yeah. Have you met some insensitive and men like that? And having said that, sometimes I feel that it does not come from a place of disrespect. Sometimes they're just not literate enough of the fact that this could be insensitive to me.
Absolutely. So in my industry, people ask me always, haven't you been propositioned, the big bad world of Bollywood, etc. I won't take names, but yes, I have been. But, it's about how you take your stand and how you make them see you, which is why I've never had a bad experience in my life in Bollywood, wherein, I was caught like a deer in headlights, never. So much so that people have had as you're saying, some people are not literate enough to kind of say it the right way.
Right.
But one particular director, who I've worked with, and I said, "Kya yaar?" I said, "What is this?" And I always have this buddy kind of chat with, with all of them, and it's always like, how come I didn't get a bigger role? And they said, "Arey Suchi, tu soti nahi hai na." So casually, tu soti nahi hai na. Yeah. So, so he said that, and I was just like, yeah, and it's not going to happen. So, so don't even expect it to happen. So there are scenarios like that happen in your life, and you have to know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But saying which, there's been a few phone calls from the South. Madam, little compromise is needed, madam. This very big role, madam, very big hero, very big this, very big that, but little compromise. I said, yeah, call somebody else, so,
right.
So that happens, that definitely happens, but it's how you deal with it that kind of puts you in a certain zone, puts you in a certain bracket,
right,
per se.
Correct.
And, no judgment here. If that's the way you want to go, that's the way you want to go. You want to make your, I have no, if a girl, I really don't think a woman, if she has decided, this is in the industry I've chosen, and this is how I'm going to get what I want, kudos to you, man. Do it. No judgment. Yeah, it is. But if you can look at yourself in the mirror every morning, Ridhima, that's all. That's all I would say to anybody like that. As long as you can look at yourself in the mirror every morning, not feel bad about yourself, not feel, shit, why did I do this just for the sake of fame, or just for the sake of fortune, or just for the sake of being in an industry that I really want to be in. If you can do that truthfully to yourself, nobody, can say anything to you. I've always believed that, you make your own choices, you find your own path, and don't ever allow anybody else to tell you otherwise.
All right. So Suchitra, what you just mentioned, in dealing with situations like this, as personally, I found sense of humor a great tool. But sometimes you get angry. You just want to tell that person, get lost. No. And at the same time, I tell myself, don't get angry. Like, calm down. When is the time where you actually break that, that barrier for yourself and you say, what? Should there be a time like that, or should there not be a time? Where is that fine line?
For me, that fine line is always there. I try as much as I can not to get angry, especially in a work scenario. Okay, you've got to maintain, I've always said, you've got to maintain your dignity. I never, just because somebody else is, acting like an ass doesn't mean, you have to fall down to that level. There are ways and means to do it. There are ways and means to kind of say, to make your point, very sweetly, very nicely, but very sarcastically, to whoever it is who's talking to you. And that is what I do sometimes, and then, or the look. All you need is one look. What my friends call is the teacher. So she's teacher look and teacher voice.
Sure to give me the look.
My teacher look would probably be if you had said something. I'm just looking at the camera. If you had said something which doesn't agree with me or whatever, I would just look at you like this.
Okay, that's quite the look.
Thank you, Ridhima, but no thanks.
Nice. Got it. I'm backing off.
Yeah, the less said, the better, just get really angry like that. That's the good part of being an actor. You can get angry with the eyes. But I always say, yes, there are certain scenarios. See, with friends and all, it's different. But when you're in a work scenario, you also have to maintain the fact that unnecessary stories will be spread. Oh, she's, difficult to work with and she has a bad temper. And you have to keep all of that in mind as well. Because that's not the person you are. Why should those stories go? Just because of one instance. So you've got to keep all of that in your mind when you are in scenarios where you just want to kind of blow up. Yeah. And my thing is always fall back on, sarcasm, always fall back on, just being very cut and dry and just say, one sentence and just keep your dignity and walk away.
Yeah.
That's how I deal with it. Really, that's how I deal with it. It makes them feel smaller. It really does. Rather than you trying to have an argument and to show them and give them the power that they've riled you up. When they don't get that, they fail.
Beautiful. There is also a scenario, of course, there are some sly comments that come in. There is a scenario where I'm sure now you don't have to deal with it because I'm sure you have a man or something, but initially it's the negotiation and the ask for pay and for a pay grade, and especially for women who are working in corporates, when they go out and ask for an upgrade, they're always fearful about ye job chala gaya haath se, and then there are a lot of people, a lot of women who want to work is because they want to take a break from home, and you're like, you don't want to go back, spend so much time there, and what do I do in a situation like that when you're working 10 times harder and stuff like that. I was watching an interview where there was this man who said that most women are not being able to get that pay grade that your colleague who's a man getting.
Yes.
Is because women are more agreeable. That's the word used. We are more compassionate, passionate. And tell them we are more agreeable.
Agreeable.
Do you agree?
Wow. I ain't agreeable here. No, I think it's important, but saying which, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I'll be frank on your show. There are moments in my scenario also where I feel worried that if I increase my pay, I'm not going to get the job. Yeah, and somebody else will undercut me. And if it's a project that I really want to do, I don't undercut. No, that I've learned the hard way. I've said I will not cut down my price. I will only try and go higher or stay in the same bracket. But if you don't demand it, you don't get it, Ridhima. And that I really have learned the hard way, and I've learned the nice surprising way as well of late. After OTT came onto the scene, and it became like a resurrection for me as far as my career is concerned. I'm doing a million things on the OTT platforms. After that, to be seen in 2 or 3 shows or Netflix or Amazon or whatever else, and then you say, I'm sorry, but my price has increased by another 5,000 or 10,000. It's justified. It's justified because let's just face it, there are people who are much less talented than you and I are, who are getting way more than what, because they have gone out there and said that they want it. I have actor friends who are friends. I have a lot of actor friends, and which is kind of unlikely normally in our scenario, but I have really good girlfriends who are actresses, and they turn around and tell me themselves, Suchi, yaar, why don't you act like a diva, and why don't you just ask for more? See, I am asking for this much and I'm getting it. Sometimes I don't. Yeah, sometimes I don't, because I like the project so much or whatever, and I've never been a money-minded person. I know it's important, but I've never been one of those, who unnecessarily say I want so many lakhs a day, But I have woken up to the fact that you have to value yourself for others to value you. And if that value means, putting a price on your, say, per day rate for work, or, how much you would charge for an episode or for a movie, etc., stick with it. Because sometimes they do take you seriously only when you do that. Yeah. Because I have also been on the other side, wherein it becomes a chalta hai attitude. That is, Suchi ma'am hai yaar, kar legi. It's that, which you don't want. You don't want that after a certain time in life. I mean, I've put 30 years into this career now, about bloody time people sat up and took notice of what one is capable of and what one should be paid for that. And for that, I'm not worried right now to kind of, to ask for it. So I think one needs to go out there. It's easier said than done sometimes, because as I said, there is that fear again of losing out. But if you don't do it, you'll never know.
Like my question to you is, I have done that, and then sometimes work has gone to somebody else.
Yes.
And you go oh my God, why did I do that? I mean,
why did I? Yes.
Begins. But do you stick to what you decided, or do you sort of, reevaluate?
Once in a while, see, if the project is good enough, once in a while, you shouldn't underestimate yourself, undermine yourself, or put yourself down, or take steps backwards. That's what I always feel. Don't take steps backwards. But including recently, there is a show that I really, really want to do, and it has come to me. But I'll do my background check. If they're turning around and saying budgets are less, I will do my background check, and find out from somewhere else, is this true? This production company, they're saying this, luckily for me, I've got a lot of people I know in the industry. So one will find out. And if I find out that they're lying, then I will stick to it and say no. Because the fact that they've made those 3 calls to you and only 1 to somebody else means they want you and not the other person. Yeah, there have been directors who have called and said, it is only you who has to do it. No audition, nothing, you will have to do it. So then you have the upper hand. Right. Yeah, and they want you. So you charge. No, don't be ridiculous, but charge what you're worth, right. Frankly speaking. But I think that's one way to do it. Try and find out from other sources whether you're being taken for a ride, or whether it's truthful. And if it is truthful and the budget is low, etc., and it's a project you want to do, then I'd say it's okay. Do it, man. Cut down. at least you're still getting it, you're still getting that much money, and you're still getting to do the project that you wanted to do. So where's the negative in that?
DYOR, do your own research. Okay.
Good.
All right. Very last part of this. And this is more like, the very famous rapid fire talk show. But this is called How Do You Deal With? Now, I'm going to give you a situation. You can rapidly tell me what would you say in a situation like that. This may have never happened to you, but say if it's happening to someone, a situation that someone has to deal with. So how do you deal with? Number one, stress of aging. Because I stressed of aging at 25 also.
I feel 25 at 52, so I really don't worry. I don't worry about it.
Amazing. A man of authority complimenting you every now and then, and you sense that he's probably hitting on you when he's married and all of that.
Yeah. I would enjoy the compliments, most definitely. I won't lie. I'll enjoy the compliments, but also make it extremely clear that complimenting a woman doesn't necessarily mean it goes anywhere else. I would say it in so many words.
Oh, wow. Perfect. A man making an insensitive dialogue like, लड़कियों का ज़्यादा ही नाटक करता है यार.
नाटकी तो हूँ ही यार, तो नाटक करूंगी ना.
Okay. उस उम्र में इतना कुछ करने की क्या जरूरत है?
भगवान की कृपा है कि इस उम्र में इतना एनर्जी है मेरे पास कि इतना सब कुछ करूं. तुम क्या कर सकते हो?
अब बस हो गया बेटा, शादी कर
ली यार 2 बार.
Let's say if this is girl who's not married, and parents बार-बार बोल रहे, क्या बोलेंगे वो अपने parents को?
नहीं. Then you just no. Then I would just say नहीं, आप कर लो ना, आपको करना है शादी यार. जब मेरा टाइम आएगा मैं कर लूंगी.
Okay, all right. तुम बहुत intimidating हो. I'm sure someone said this to you
many times. And then they meet me. It's like when we met. Also, remember you were just like sussing me out. But many times they have. तुम बहुत intimidating हो, हाँ. लेकिन अब तो तुम्हें पता है ना कि मैं हूँ नहीं. So. You just need to get to know me, and it's better that they think of me as the Dil Chata Hai Priya, who gives the slap, the intimidating girlfriend before, and then find out who the real Suchi is later.
Perfect. I don't think this is a valid question to you, but still, any regrets in life?
None. No, none whatsoever. That's one thing I've always maintained. Whatever the process, whatever the journey has been, it's been a fantastic journey. I wouldn't change it for the world. The heartaches, the heartbreaks, the ups, the downs, the geographically shifting, the everything. You take it in your stride and you just make it stronger. No regrets at all. One regret, only one, I think, in my industry was the fact that I was offered Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar way back then, and I didn't do it because I was doing engineering. But then again, when I think back, all of these other opportunities I may not have happened at that point. I may have been doing something totally different. Either would have been a flop at that point, would have been a hit, and my life would have taken another journey. I wouldn't have been married then at 20, the way I did. I wouldn't have been the person I am today. I wouldn't have had the baby I have right now. So that's why no regrets at all. Professionally, that may have been my one regret. The only other thing I would say is that I haven't yet released my second music album. That's the only other regret. But it's not really a regret because it is going to happen. I will make it happen. 52 kya cheez hai yaar. Wait till I'm 60. I'll still be singing.
First of all, you have to give your beauty secrets out. We'll do another show out there. The skin is amazing. The hair is amazing. I've met you in person and I'm always in awe, and I will never forget that sight when I was leaving Goa and you walked out in that gown. And for a minute, I was just looking at you from the back. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? I felt so like, what am I doing? But I just kept looking at you from the back. I was like, dude.
Okay. No, I have to admit, Ridhima, earlier I was just like heavy, everything was just happening. But now, with age and with menopause and which go with all things like your mood changes and so on and so forth and everything, I have been taking a little bit more care of myself. As in, as I said, I do my meditations. I've been very regular with my yoga, so my muscles are still there. Started walking. Can you believe? I've never walked. I live near Juhu Beach and I've never walked there in my life. I've just done 2 walks now for 4 kilometers, and I'm just like, I can't believe I've never walked on the beach. So you discover something.
You come for a walk with me in the morning and you denied it. I remember.
Oh, exactly, right? Yeah. I just went last week and I was just so excited about it, man. My headphones on, walking nicely on the beach, and I was like nearly dancing to my music, saying, this is so beautiful when you've got nature here. And so for me, it's always a discovery process every day. And that's what keeps me younger, makes me feel younger. It's a discovery process. Today, what else am I going to learn? today, who else am I going to meet who I can learn something from? And when you take life in that way, I think that keeps you young. I think to keep your innocence inside is very important, especially in our career, where you can get what they call jaded, very easily when you let everything else affect you. And I think so that I consciously do. I consciously, maintain the fact that I will act as, or I will dress as young as I feel I am. I still wear shorts and I still wear my daughter's t-shirt, and she's 15 and I'm 52. And, and, it's without any qualms. It's not booty godi lal lagam. I keep telling my friends, when it comes to that, y'all will tell me. When it really, really feels like I'm trying, but they say no, the way you're, the way you are, the way you're looking, and your energy is still maintaining that level. So who's to say anything?
I love it. And advice for a woman who's sitting in a cubicle and judging her life choices right now.
And judging her own life choices, right? First place, judgment should just be thrown out of the window, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for other people. I really think being judgmental is a downfall for anybody. Who died and made you that judge? Who put you up on that pedestal to think that you have any right to judge other people? So others, definitely not. But somebody, if you're judging yourself, still, I will always say, don't be so hard on yourself. It is all a learning process. Everything that you have gone through is because you have been chosen to go through that, because you have been strong enough to go through whatever it is that you had to go through, because you have been talented enough to get those opportunities. So take it for that. Take it for how exciting it can be, how it can be a stepping stone to something else, rather than just sitting there doing siapa and saying, why did I do this and why did I do that? Life is too damn short. In the last few years, I have been there on the deathbed with two very close people, my own father and my uncle, and I was the last person holding their hand when they passed. And when you reach a situation like that and just look into their eyes just before they close their eyes, it's what matters in the bigger picture, Ridhima, is not all of this. It is not the material thing. It is not what you have achieved. It is not the fame. It is not the fortune. Are you a good person inside? Is there anybody who can turn around and say that this person hurt me? If there is nobody, you've lived a perfect life.
Thank you.
That's what it's all about. For me, that's what it's all about. So don't judge yourself. Just be proud of where you are at this moment in time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for doing this. It really meant a lot. And I know you're very busy.
No, I'm glad we got to do it. I'm so glad we got to do it. Lots of love. Thank you, sweetheart. Good luck.
Bye-bye. All the best for everything that you're doing, and have a great day.
Thank you, sweetheart. Bye.
Bye-bye.